The candlelight flickered over a long oak table, casting soft shadows on the expensive wine glasses and polished silverware. We were at my in-laws' estate, the one they proudly called the Legacy House. My husband Daniel sat beside me, unusually quiet. Across from us sat his parents, Martha and Gerald. Dressed like they were attending a gala, not a family dinner, they hadn't invited me. It was Daniel who insisted I come. Even though his mother had whispered, not knowing I overheard, just, "Don't let her embarrass us again. Embarrass them." I gave up my career to support Daniel's. I cared for their house, their dogs, their dinners when they were sick. I never asked for recognition, only respect. But that night, the tension was thicker than the wine. Martha tapped her glass with her fork. "We thought it was time to discuss the future," she said, her eyes landing on Daniel. Then on me, cold, measuring. Gerald cleared his throat. "We've updated the will." Daniel and I exchanged glances. "Don't worry," Martha smiled. "You're still our son, Daniel, but we had to make some changes for the sake of the family legacy. They didn't say my name. They didn't need to. I felt it. The quiet message behind every look, every fork scrape. You're not one of us." I opened my mouth, but Daniel squeezed my hand. "Let's just listen," he whispered. Gerald continued. "We'll be reading the full document next week, with the lawyer present." Martha added, "Just a formality, really. Everyone knows where things should go. Tradition matters." Everyone, except me. At home that night, I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the carpet. "Did you know they were changing the will?" I asked. Daniel hesitated. Then they mentioned reviewing it. "But I didn't think they'd actually do anything." "They don't want me to have anything, Daniel?" He looked away. That was the moment I knew I couldn't trust silence anymore. I would find out what they were hiding. And if they thought I was going to walk away with nothing, they didn't know who I really was. 3 days before the will reading, I found myself parked in front of a plain gray building in the center of town. It's a brass plaque on the door. "Read, Law Office of Harold Whitmore." I'd never met him, but Daniel's parents had spoken of him often. Our family lawyer for over 30 years. Gerald liked to say with a tone of ownership. I wasn't supposed to be here, but I'd made an appointment in my maiden name. A name they'd long tried to erase. When Mr. Whitmore stepped into the waiting room, his eyes crinkled in confusion, then recognition. "You're Emily Harper." I nodded. "I know this might be unusual, Mr. Whitmore, but I was hoping you could answer a few questions privately." Hesitated. I could see his loyalty was torn. But something about my tone, maybe the way I didn't flinch when he narrowed his eyes, made him step aside. 10 minutes, he said, motioning me into his office. No files, no disclosures, just talk. His office smelled of old paper and polished wood. The walls were lined with books, but the desk was clean, almost suspiciously so. He sat across from me, folding his hands. "So, what is it you want to know, Miss Harper?" I leaned forward. "I want to know why my name isn't in the revised will." He blinked, but not in surprise, in discomfort. "You'll have to ask your in-laws about their choices. I am only the executor." "I think I married Daniel for money," I said bluntly. "They think I don't belong, that I haven't earned anything." He stayed silent, but I took care of them when Martha had surgery. I handled their estate finances when Gerald forgot to pay taxes for 2 years. I gave up my business to help. I've never taken a cent from them, Mr. Whitmore. Not one. He looked down at his hands. Emily. Some things are out of my control. I didn't reply. I simply stood. And that's when I saw it. A corner of a paper sticking out from under the leather blotter on his desk. Handwriting I recognized. Daniel's. My fingers twitched. I didn't reach for it. I just looked at him. Does Daniel know what they've done? He looked at the letter, then back at me. "You should talk to your husband." That night I confronted Daniel. "They took me out of the will, didn't they?" I asked him, holding nothing back. He swallowed hard. It's not about that. Don't lie to me. He sat down, hands on his knees. He told me it was for tax reasons. That if something happened to them, the estate would be protected under my name, not yours. So I disappear from their lives on paper to protect their assets. It's temporary, he insisted. Once everything's settled, no. I said coldly, it's not temporary. It's strategy. And you let it happen. His silence was the only confirmation I needed. 2 days later, Mr. Whitmore called me. Emily, I shouldn't be doing this. But there's a clause, final clause, not written by Gerald or Martha. Who then? Daniel. I felt the floor tilt under me. You'll hear it at the reading. I just thought you should be prepared. Changes everything. The day of the will reading arrived. Gerald wore a smug smile, and Martha didn't even look at me. Their friends were present, a few cousins, the estate accountant, and of course, Mr. Whitmore. Let's begin, he said, opening the leather binder slowly. The usual began: real estate allocations, business shares, family heirlooms. All carefully divided. Until Martha said loudly, "She's not mentioned, is she?" As we agreed. Mr. Whitmore paused. Emily Harper is not mentioned in the primary sections. However, and here he looked at me. There is a final clause, added last month, under legal advisement. He pulled out a handwritten page. Gerald shifted. What are you doing, Harold? Mr. Whitmore read aloud. In the event of exclusion or removal of my wife, Emily Harper, from the principal inheritance documents, I, Daniel James Whitmore, hereby transfer full ownership of my 40% share in Whitmore Holdings and all assets held under my name to Emily Harper irrevocably and without contest. The room went dead silent. Martha's face drained of color. He didn't. Snapped. Gerald stood, trembling. Daniel, tell them this is a joke. Tell them you didn't. Daniel looked straight at me. You deserved better. The silence in the room after the final clause was read felt like thunder in my chest. Gerald's voice cracked first. You can't do this, Daniel. This is family property. Legacy property. Martha's eyes burned into her son. She manipulated you. This is her plan. We warned you. But Daniel didn't flinch. He looked at them the way I'd never seen. Before, not as their obedient child, but as a man who had made a choice. One that didn't include protecting their pride. I'm not undoing it, he said quietly. It's already signed, filed, and registered. I sat frozen, not because I needed the money, not because I wanted revenge, because for once someone finally saw what I gave, what I sacrificed, and made it visible. Martha stood, her chair scraping violently against the floor. Do you have any idea what you've done? The chair funds are lifestyle, the house, the travel, the business dinners. Without that, you're fine. Daniel cut her off. You still have more than enough. You just don't have control. Whitmore closed the binder. The meeting was over. Outside. The summer heat felt cruel against my skin. I stood near the car, clutching my handbag like it was armor. Daniel walked up beside me. I know it doesn't undo everything, he said softly, but I meant it. You deserved better. Why now? I asked. Why not earlier? He exhaled, watching. The wind moved the trees, because I kept thinking they'd change, that they'd come around, that if I stayed quiet, they'd learn to love you the way I do. He paused. But watching them erase you so easily, so proudly, made me realize they never would. For a moment, we just stood there. No screaming, no drama, just a quiet kind of devastation that neither of us knew how to name. That night, I walked through the house like it was a museum of silence. Our wedding photos sat in the hallway, dusty, ignored. Gifts I'd bought his parents over the years, tucked into corners like they'd never mattered. In the guest room closet. I found the box, the one with all the letters I'd written to Martha. After Daniel's accident, notes updating her on his health, pleas for her to visit. None of them were opened. They never saw me. Not really, but now the world would. The next morning, I met with the estate accountant. I wasn't going to sell my share, not yet. But I wanted every record, every loophole, every transaction that had my name removed, and I wanted it documented. He hesitated. "Mrs. Harper, are you planning legal action?" "No," I said. "I'm planning clarity." Within days, the family began to spiral. Martha sent Daniel voice messages, half threats, half sobs. Gerald tried calling the company's board, trying to block the transfer. But the documents were airtight. Daniel's shares and every decision tied to them were mine now. The board called a meeting. I was invited. They didn't expect me to show, but I did. I walked in wearing the same navy suit they once mocked. Me, 4. No jewelry, no makeup, just presence. And when one of the senior partners, Mr. Leeds, cleared his throat and said, "We weren't sure you'd take an active role," I smiled and replied, "You weren't supposed to be sure." The point. I didn't dismantle the company. I didn't fire anyone, didn't change the logo or the name or the holiday bonuses. But I did something else. I moved the headquarters. Just one block, but out of the building that bore the Whitmore family crest, and I renamed the main boardroom Harper Hall. That Christmas, a package arrived at our door. No name, just a box. Inside were photos, old ones of Daniel and his siblings as children, family vacations, birthday parties, notes from their grandmother, Dot, and a letter. "We can't change who we were, but I hope you can become what we couldn't. I see you now." Martha, no apology, but acknowledgement. Sometimes that's louder. It was a spring morning when I received the invitation. Cream-colored envelope. Thick cardstock, gold-embossed letters that read, "Whitmore Foundation, Gala, in honor of legacy." And renewal. I nearly tossed it aside, but something made me pause. Inside, there was a note, handwritten in careful cursive. "You've always been part of this family. Some of us were too proud to admit it. We hope you'll come. Double quotes, Gerald." I showed it to Daniel, expecting him to roll his eyes or tear it up. But instead, he said, "You should go. For yourself, not for them." And I knew he was right. The gala was held in the city's most prestigious event space. Chandeliers like frozen waterfalls, velvet curtains, and servers in tuxedos. The kind of place I once felt small in. Tonight I didn't. As I entered, conversations paused. Heads turned, some recognized me. Most didn't. But Gerald did. He approached slowly, his once commanding posture now softened by age, humility, or both. "Emily," he said, for the first time, no sarcasm, no bitterness, just my name. "Thank you for coming." I nodded. "Thank you for inviting me." He looked away briefly, as if assembling the courage. "We were wrong. About you. About everything." I said nothing. He continued. "Martha, she's not here tonight. She's still working through pride mostly. But she reads every article about the company. She knows you saved it. She just doesn't know how to say she's sorry." "She doesn't need to," I replied. "She already did." He raised an eyebrow. "The letter? The pictures?" "I received them." He exhaled, visibly relieved. "Then maybe there's hope." Later that night, the speeches began. Daniel was on stage. First, he was now a respected board advisor, but he kept a low profile. Still, he used his moment to say something few expected. "Everything you see tonight, this celebration, this stability, wouldn't have happened without someone who once sat at the edge of this family, invisible. Someone who kept us from collapsing. Emily, this is yours as much as ours. Maybe more." The crowd applauded politely. But when he stepped down and gestured for me to take the microphone, the room truly shifted. I wasn't on the list of speakers, but I walked up not for revenge, not to prove anything, just to be seen, finally, as I really was. For a long time, I believed that being quiet would earn me respect, that if I worked hard, gave enough, smiled through enough silence, I'd eventually be called by my name. I looked at Gerald. But silence doesn't protect legacy. Clarity does. Action does. Truth does. I paused, letting the room settle. I don't want thanks. I don't need apologies. I just want to show the next woman sitting quietly at a family table that she doesn't need to disappear to belong. There was real applause this time, not out of obligation, but understanding, after the event. As I stood outside waiting for the car, a young woman approached me. Mrs. Harper, I turned. I just started at Whitmore Holdings. I heard what happened. Last year, I just wanted to say thank you for showing us what it looks like to be strong without shouting. I smiled. Sometimes silence is strength, I said, as long as it's not used against you. She nodded, eyes wide with respect. Weeks later, I returned to Martha's estate, not as a guest, not as an outsider, as a Conor. The name on the deed had changed, Harper Whitmore Trust. She greeted me at the door. No smile, no hostility either. You didn't have to come, she said. I did. We sat in the garden, the same one she once told me I wasn't allowed to trim without permission. Now I was funding its renovation. She poured tea. Her hands trembled slightly. I was cruel to you, she said, eyes fixed on the cup. Yes, I answered. She looked up. But you stayed. Why? I thought for a moment. Because I wasn't staying for you, I was staying for me. For Daniel. For what I knew I'd built, even if no one gave me credit. A long pause. Then, barely audible, I was afraid of you. That I hadn't expected. You weren't like the women I know, she continued. You didn't ask for permission. You didn't beg. You just existed. Strongly. I didn't speak. I let her sit in that confession. Then she said, for the first time in over a decade, Emily, my name, not her, not your wife, not that girl, just Emily. The story didn't end in courtrooms or with headlines. It ended in the garden of a house that once shut me out with the simple power of being named finally, not as an intruder, but as an equal. And that was enough.